Welcome back, everyone. We're diving deep today, folks.
Yeah.
Really deep. We're going to be exploring ancient Earth history
Mhm.
and, well, the whole concept of ascension, too.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. But get this. We're doing it all through one source.
Okay, wait on me.
It's these excerpts, right, from this channeled message. It's called Lemuria, Atlantis, Egypt. Ancient Earth History and Ascension.
That's a mouthful.
It is. It is. And it's from, well, he claims to be an extraterrestrial being named Ashtar.
Okay, so we're going full cosmic here.
Yeah, totally. But listen, we're not trying to prove or disprove anything, okay? We just want to see what this Ashtar has to say, Explore the narrative, all the info about Lemuria, Atlantis, Egypt.
Right, those are big ones for sure. Like legendary civilizations almost.
Exactly.
Oh.
So much mystery surrounding them. And one thing Ashtar really stresses right off the bat is this idea of observation, but without judgment.
Interesting.
Yeah, especially now in what he calls the end times. He even says it's like crucial for holding on to your personal power. What do you make of that?
Well, judgment, it can be pretty draining when we're constantly judging others, like whether it's their political views or even just like their taste in music. We're kind of giving our energy away to that,
Yeah, feeding that negativity.
Exactly. Ashtar's suggesting that by just observing, without getting all wrapped up in judgment, we keep our power, stay centered.
That resonates with me. Like, have you ever gotten into one of those pointless arguments online, just leaves you feeling drained?
Oh, for sure.
Totally. So maybe Ashtar's onto something. And speaking of these end times, he says they'll be marked by hidden truths, coming to light. And that's going to lead to some global upheaval.
He calls it a madness of the end times. It's a pretty intense image.
It is. Makes you wonder what kind of truths could be out there that could, really shake things up.
Yeah. Like imagine if everything we thought we knew about history, technology, even just like the nature of reality was suddenly flipped on its head.
That's a big what if.
Yeah. It would definitely cause some serious psychological and societal shock, right? People feeling lost, confused, maybe even angry could lead to some real instability.
Wow. It's almost like finding out the Earth is actually flat.
Huh.
Just kidding. Although Ashtar does clarify that the Earth is indeed round.
Thankfully.
Right. But, okay, let's move on to Lemuria. Ashtar paints this picture of a super advanced civilization. They had teleportation, dematerialization, even communication with other dimensions.
It's amazing what the human imagination can come up with.
I know, right? And he talks about this concept of seeding, like extraterrestrial races influencing and accelerating the development of these ancient civilizations.
So, suggesting that Lemuria, with its advanced technology and spirituality, was kind of like given a boost by beings from other star systems?
Yeah, that's the idea. And there's some really interesting details about the Lemurians themselves. Some were said to be over 5 meters tall.
Wow, that's huge.
I know, right? And their technology, it's like something out of science fiction.
Makes you wonder what other secrets are hidden in our planet's past.
Definitely. But even with all this, Ashtar makes it clear that Lemuria wasn't a perfect paradise.
Right, no civilization is.
Exactly. He suggests that internal conflicts, like the kind we see today, eventually led to their downfall.
So even with advanced technology and spiritual wisdom, they couldn't escape the pitfalls of ego and power
It
struggles.
seems that way. A real cautionary tale, don't you think?
Absolutely. And Ashtar describes their end as pretty dramatic. Volcanic eruptions, tectonic shifts, the whole continent breaking apart and sinking into the ocean.
A sudden, catastrophic end.
Quite a contrast to Atlantis, which Ashtar says sank much more gradually.
I wonder if the way a civilization ends reflects its inner turmoil. But okay, enough about Lemuria for now. Let's shift gears and talk about Atlantis.
Okay, bring on the Atlanteans.
So Ashtar describes Atlantis as another technologically advanced civilization. But this time, he says it was seeded by multiple extraterrestrial races. The Pleiadians, Syrians, Andromedans.
Wow, a real mix of cosmic influences.
Right. Each race bringing its own unique contributions, shaping Atlantis in different ways. He even calls Atlantis a kind of mother to the planet.
A mother?
How so? He says it was nourishing other continents with energy from its crystal pyramids. Can you imagine? A civilization so advanced they could impact the whole planet on an energetic level.
That's a pretty mind-blowing concept.
Isn't it? And get this, he connects the Bermuda Triangle to the sunken city of Atlantis.
The Bermuda Triangle.
Yeah, he suggests that the energy from the main crystal pyramid might be causing time distortions and disappearances, even today.
So like Flight 19, the planes that vanished back in the 40s.
That's one example he mentions. It's like the energetic remnants of Atlantis are still out there impacting our world.
Wow. Okay, so unlike Lemuria, Atlantis sank in stages, 5 stages, according to Ashtar.
Right, a much slower decline.
And he blames their downfall on a few things. Negative extraterrestrial factions infiltrating Atlantis, their leaders becoming corrupted by power, and, well, the misuse of advanced technology.
It's like that saying, power corrupts. Seems like it applies even to civilizations with incredible technology and spiritual knowledge.
Yeah, makes you think about the responsibility that comes with power, no matter how advanced a society might be.
For sure. And this next part is, well, it's pretty wild. Ashtar claims that the leader of Germany in World War II was actually a reincarnation of a specific Atlantean leader.
Whoa, hold on. So he's saying this leader was trying to, like, finish what he started in Atlantis.
That's the implication. And he even goes so far as to connect the events of 9/11 to the energetic remnants of Atlantis.
Okay, that's a lot to digest.
It is a lot to unpack. Maybe we should take a moment to process all of this before we dive into Egypt.
So Lemuria, Atlantis, gone. Yeah. But what about ancient Egypt? How does that fit into all of this?
Oh, Egypt's key. Ashtar says it inherited wisdom from both those lost civilizations.
No, really? Like a bridge?
Yeah. Survivors from Lemuria and Atlantis, they went there, brought their knowledge, their traditions.
So Egypt's like this repository of ancient wisdom then?
That's how he portrays it. And one example, that's a really vivid one, is the story of the sacred white flame of Ascension.
Oh, I've heard of that. The flame was like physically carried from Atlantis to Egypt, right?
Exactly. Not just like knowledge passed down, but an actual object, sacred, moved.
Wow, that's quite an image.
Right. It wasn't just like thoughts and ideas. It was like taking action.
Ashtar really stresses that physical action, even in like spiritual matters.
He does. And the being who carried the flame, Serapis Bey. He was the high priest of the Temple of Ascension in Atlantis.
Serapis Bey. I've come across that name in my research.
Yeah, he's a pretty big figure in a lot of these esoteric traditions.
So Serapis Bey, he actually carried the flame in his hands as he journeyed to Egypt.
That's what Ashtar says.
Imagine that, the weight of responsibility, you know? Carrying something so sacred, everything falling apart around him.
I know, right? It's like a scene straight out of a movie.
Yeah.
But it shows you the dedication, right, to protecting that ancient wisdom.
Absolutely. A true guardian of knowledge. And Ashtar actually channels Serapis Bey, lets him describe the journey in his own words.
Oh, really? What does he say?
Well, Serapis Bey talks about feeling guided by divine forces, a profound sense of honor carrying this sacred flame.
Wow, that's powerful. Okay, so we've got Lemuria and Atlantis influencing Egypt. But Ashtar brings up another group, too. The Hathors.
Oh, yeah. The Hathors, they played a big role in shaping Egyptian civilization, right?
Huge.
Yeah.
And their story is, well, pretty unique.
Ashtar describes them as a galactic race connected to the Syrians and Pleiadians.
And get this. They spent, like, 1,000 years in Egypt, actually like collaborating genetically with the civilization.
Wait, so they were actively involved in shaping the genetic makeup of early Egyptians?
That's what Ashtar says, 1,000 years.
That's an incredibly long time. What were they, like, trying to achieve?
Well, according to Ashtar, the Hathors were focused on, like, wisdom, love, respect, particularly between different races. That's kind of familiar, right?
Yeah, like the Pleiadians and Lemuria and Atlantis.
Yeah, exactly. It makes you wonder if there's this, like, cosmic connection between these extraterrestrial races and their desire to guide humanity.
It's fascinating to think about. Okay, so what else does Ashtar say about ancient Egypt?
Well, his description is actually pretty different from what we usually imagine. Like, he paints this picture of a lush landscape, beautiful, vibrant colors, not just desert.
So more like a paradise almost.
Right.
Before, desertification.
Exactly. And he even mentions, like, all the iconic figures we know. Tutankhamun, Abraham, Moses, Akhenaten, Nefertiti, Cleopatra.
Yeah, they're all woven into this grand narrative. Ancient wisdom, spiritual evolution, extraterrestrial influence. It's all there.
And this is where things get really interesting. Ashtar claims that Cleopatra's final incarnation was in Brazil.
Wait. Yeah.
Yeah, the 20th century. He even says to look up Veil do Amenheser and Tia Niva.
Wow. That's quite a claim. Like, it makes you rethink everything you thought you knew about, history and reincarnation.
Right. And then he throws in this whole thing about the flat earth theory.
The flat earth theory, what does that have to do with anything?
He claims it originated in Atlantis as, like, misinformation spread by negative forces.
So even in these advanced civilizations, they had to deal with fake news.
Apparently.
Mm.
It just shows you got to be careful about what you believe, always question things. And for the record, Ashtar does confirm the Earth is definitely round.
Good to know. Okay, so we've talked about the Hathors, these claims about Cleopatra. What else?
Well, we can't forget about Thoth, also known as Hermes Trismegistus.
Oh yeah, Thoth, the master of wisdom.
Ashtar claims he lived for, get this, over 50,000 years in the same physical body.
50,000 years? Come on, that's going to be some kind of exaggeration, right?
That's what Ashtar says. He details his whole journey, starting as a priest in Atlantis. His name was Arlig Vomalites then. And then later on, he shows up in Egypt and Greece as Thoth and Hermes.
So one being present during like these pivotal moments across multiple civilizations, that's mind-boggling.
It is. And Ashtar highlights some really interesting details, like Thoth's connection to Pythagoras, the Emerald Tablet, his teachings on crystalline communication, healing, even connections to the inner earth.
Wow, that's a lot to cover in one lifetime, let alone 50,000 years. He must have been like a walking encyclopedia of ancient wisdom.
Right, a conduit across cultures and time periods. It makes you wonder what secrets are still out there, waiting to be rediscovered.
It's amazing to think about. Okay, so we've got Lemuria, Atlantis, Egypt. Are there any other civilizations Ashtar touches on?
Oh yeah, he mentions the Mayan and Sumerian civilizations too. Suggests they played important roles in this grand story of ancient Earth history. But we'll have to save those for part 3 of this deep dive.
Yeah.
So we've got the Mayans, we've got the Sumerians. What's the deal with them?
Well, Ashtar puts them in the same category as the others, you know? Advanced civilizations, deep knowledge of astronomy, math, spirituality.
And those extraterrestrial connections too. Like, is that a theme throughout all these ancient cultures?
Seems like it. Ashtar's painting this picture of a time when, I don't know, like, interactions between humans and ETs were just more common.
Maybe even shaping civilization as we know it.
Right, in ways we can't even fully grasp yet.
It's pretty mind-blowing, right?
Yeah.
Makes you think, maybe we're not so alone after all.
Exactly. And one thing Ashtar keeps coming back to throughout this whole message is the importance of accessing our own, what he calls internal Akashics.
The Akashic records?
Yeah, but like a personal version. He's talking about this library inside each of us, containing records of our past lives, all our experiences.
So it's not just about, like, studying these ancient cultures from the outside.
Nope. He's saying the key is to look within.
To tap into that inner knowing.
Exactly. It's like everything's connected, right? We're all part of this huge cosmic tapestry. And by exploring these ancient stories and really connecting with our own inner wisdom, we can start to see those connections more clearly.
I like that. So as we're wrapping up this deep dive into Ashtar's message, what would you say is the biggest takeaway?
I guess it's an invitation to be more open-minded, to expand our view of history, of human potential, of our place in the universe. You know, not to be limited by those conventional narratives.
It's like to really consider the possibility of these ancient civilizations being much more advanced than we thought.
Right. And maybe even connected to extraterrestrial races in ways we're only beginning to imagine.
It's a lot to ponder. What if they really were more connected? And what does that mean for how we understand ourselves, you know, humanity's place in all of this?
It's a huge question, and honestly, we might never have all the answers. But the journey of exploring it, it's pretty incredible in itself.
I agree. Just delving into these stories, engaging with these concepts, it opens up so many possibilities.
And ultimately, it helps us understand ourselves and the universe a little bit better.
So well said. Maybe the answers are already within us, just waiting to be discovered. Thanks for taking this wild ride with me.